Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Donna. Today's video is part of the Alphabet Inspiration Card Challenge, and today's prompt is the letter F. I'm taking my inspiration from the word flower or flowers or floral. I'm just going to put up on the screen a picture of the card that we'll be making today. This is a 5x7 card, so it's a little bit bigger than the normal standard card that most people make. I found that this gave me a bigger canvas in order to put all my flowers on it. I'm using the Floral Essence Stamp as well as the Coordinating Perennial Flower Punch. This Stampin' Punch will be available in the new annual catalog that's coming up in June. I'm also using the Frosted Bouquet die set. Now this die set is retiring at the end of the month, so if you're interested in purchasing it, I would run over and grab it as soon as you can. As well, I'm using the new Ornate Thanks Stamp Set. This is also going to be in the new annual catalog coming up on June 3rd. To start, you are going to need a piece of petal pink cardstock. You will need to make it 7 inches by 10 inches, and then you're going to score on the 10-inch side at 5 inches to fold it in half to make a 5x7 card. You will also need a piece of old olive, and this will be slightly smaller, so you will need to make that 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and then you will need a piece of Designer Series paper, whatever you choose. I don't know where I got that piece. It is just a scrap, but it is going to end up being 4.5 by 6.5. You also need some scraps of petal pink and whisper white. For the petal pink, I used a piece that's approximately 3.5 inches by 5 3/4. For the whisper white, I used a piece that's approximately 2.5 by 9 3/4 inches. But you can use whatever scraps you have. You just need to make sure it's big enough so that you can stamp out the flower petals 6 times on the pretty petal pink and 9 times on the whisper white. And you're going to be using petal pink ink for that as well. You're also going to need a little bit of old olive. Now I'm just using stuff that was actually left over, so I didn't actually do this, but a little piece of old olive, and you stamp that leaf that's in the stamp set, and then you just cut it out by hand, or if you have the Scan and Cut, you could also use that. I'm also using some leftover sprigs. Now the sprigs came from something else. You could use the Floral Bouquet die set. There is a sprig in it that's a little bit bigger. I'm not sure which die set this sprig came from, but I did cut out a few in white and a few in old olive. I also had some leftovers that I think I used for a paper pumpkin, from a paper pumpkin kit. And I'm not sure how I'm going to use all these little elements for the leaves, but we'll see as we go along. Once you have your petals stamped out, you're just going to need to take your punch and punch them all out. Now just remember when you're stamping that to keep in mind the orientation of the punch, which means that the 2 petals have to be towards the edge and the 1 petal is facing upwards. You're going to punch all those petals out, and that's going to be enough to make 5 flowers. Now I'm going to stamp in the center of the petal with the center of the stamp with Sahara Sand. Now I didn't really need to stamp all of them because it's only going to be the top one that's going to be showing, but just so that it's just easier to do them all rather than get confused as to which one I did and which one I didn't. Once those are all done, I'm taking a sponge or a sponge dauber. I'm just using a sponge in this case, in my petal pink ink, and I'm just sponging on some color so that they weren't so flat and so plain looking. This does change the look quite a bit, and you can put as much or as little as you like on them. You can see the difference there between the petal pink that is sponged and the petal pink that is not sponged. I'm going to do the same with the white one, and then I'm going to go through and do them all the same way. Once that's done, I'm just going to take my bone folder and just kind of curl the petals a little bit, just to add some dimension. Some people like to curl the petals outwards. I actually like to curl them inwards because it gives that little, almost like a hump in the center, which is what I was looking for. Then I'm going to glue or use glue dots to adhere the petals together. The first petal, you just have to remember, is not exactly in the center of the other ones. It's kind of off center, and then the other one will be next to it. You'll see what I mean right here. It's not quite right in between the two because I'm going to add the second or the third set of petals on top of it. You can also use your glue if you like. I just found the glue was getting a little messy, so I switched to the glue dots instead. Once those 5 flowers are ready to go, we're going to start putting our card together. We're going to take the old olive and attach it to the front of the card with some adhesive. I'm using the Tombow Mono liquid adhesive, but you can use a tape runner or whatever else you have to use. And then on top of that, I'm going to put my DSP layer. This particular DSP layer, because it's a wood grain, really looks wonderful with these flowers. It kind of really suited it. But of course, you can use almost anything that you like. Now I'm going to start laying out where I'd like my flowers to go. Now I'm going to attach my flowers with dimensionals, which is going to give me lots of space. Just one dimensional in the center at the back, which is going to give me lots of space to put my leaves and other elements, the sprigs, etc., in behind them. Once the flowers are all attached to the front of the card, I'm going to bring over my sprigs and leaves that I've chosen to use and start attaching them in behind the petals. In some cases I used glue, in other cases I may have used glue dots. I'm also using my pokey tool just to help lift up the leaves or the petals so I can slide the leaves behind. I also it might be necessary to trim off or to just kind of cut off some of the stem portion of the leaves just so that they fit. I didn't want the leaves to extend beyond the edge of the card because I was afraid it wouldn't fit into a 5x7 envelope. Now, because there is so much dimension to this card, you might actually want to make yourself a box envelope for it. But I'm not sure a box envelope would be worth mailing, but still, if you attach it to a present, it would look amazing. This is kind of a long process. This probably took me 6 or 7 minutes to do all this. But for this video, I just sped it up rather than cut it out. I just thought you would like to see how I did it. Leaves from almost any set would work fine for this. You could even freehand them and cut them out. Okay, now it's time to add the sentiment to the front of the card. I've decided to use this little label die, two label dies in the frosted bouquet, which I'm going to use. I'm going to use the bigger one and cut it out of petal pink just for a mat, and then I'm going to use the smaller one to stamp thanks on from the Ornate Thanks Stamp Set. And I'm going to attach that, and I'm just going to pop that up on top of the card. For the background or the matte piece, I am going to sponge just a little bit of the ink around the outside edge. I also probably could have done this with the white piece as well, just to make it stand out a little bit more. There's the final card. I'm going to show you how I made the inside of the card, but I did take another piece of Whisper White, just a 1/4 inch smaller, and stamped on one of the sentiments from the Ornate Thanks, as well as one of the flowers and leaves from the Floral Essence stamp set. I also attached some sequins to the front just to finish off this card. Up on the screen is the project sheet that details some of the supplies that I've used. To purchase any of these supplies, please head on over to my online store at www.dragonfliescreations.stampinup.net. Remember to post any of your creations for the Alphabet Inspiration Card Challenge over on the Facebook group that I have dedicated just for this purpose. The link you will find in the description below. Please feel free to also use the hashtag Alphabet Inspiration Card Challenge when posting online. Please subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified each time I upload a new video. Thanks for watching and stay safe.